What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Since this is Gen Con week, and I'm not going to be able to go to Gen Con this week, I thought I'd drop two videos. So my first video was one on the Marvel Multiverse RPG. If you haven't taken a look at that, go check it out. But now I'm also going to give you a video on another comic book RPG, one that I think is probably the best attempt to recreate comic book style play, and that is the Sentinel Comic RPG. Let's get into it. So what is it? Well, Sentinel Comics is an RPG set in the same universe as Sentinels of the Multiverse card game, albeit after the stories there have concluded. No need to worry about trampling on canon. That said, the system itself could easily be used to emulate comic stories in DC, Marvel, Mirage, IDW, or any other comic property you can shake a bow staff at. With Cam Banks on board, it is clear that his work on the Cortex and the Marvel Heroic RPG were put to good use. The core mechanics certainly shares DNA. Looking a bit deeper, I also see clear inspiration from Savage Worlds and Fate as well. The total package ends up being a fast-moving game that captures the feel of Silver Age comics as well as any previous attempt. The core mechanic. This is really what sets Sentinel Comics RPG apart from the competition, in my opinion. With it, you roll one power die, one quality die, and one status die. Your status is going to be determined either by where your character's health is or how dire things are in the scene. After rolling, you arrange the dice in the order of the highest, max, middle, mid, and lowest, min. By default, you're going to take the mid die and either apply as damage or compare to a target number. In the case of a boost, hinder, or overcome, which you can clearly see the Fate DNA here. The target number is usually 4. See some Savage Worlds DNA there? Where things get interesting is with abilities, because they break the rules, allowing the use of perhaps a max die, or maybe a mid and a min die, so on and so forth. What's more, as status goes more sideways in a scene, you gain access to more abilities classified as green, yellow, red, or out, gyro. The game handles all but the biggest enemies, villains, with simple saves instead of tracking health points. Minion die are defeated with a single failed save, while lieutenants degrade a die size with each failed save. Stat blocks for minions and lieutenants are essentially just a die type and maybe a couple of abilities. On top of that, you have an environment that takes its own turn, creating hazards and twists, think Fate again here, for heroes and baddies alike. But where the game really shines, and I feel does that better than any other RPG regardless of genre, is character creation. So let's go there now. For character creation, you're going to select a background, a power source, an archetype, a personality, your red abilities. Then you're going to be able to retcon or change some of your choices, and then you're going to determine your health, and then you're going to do the finishing touches, such as setting what your character looks like. Between these steps, you're going to have multiple options of doing this randomly or selecting your choice that suits your desire. The great thing about this is that it keeps everything very well abstracted, and it uses this to kind of nudge players into being more descriptive in their role-playing to allow them to use the powers and qualities that they want to use in a given situation. I ran a few sessions of this, and one of my players in particular always struggles to get into the role-playing spirit. But when we played Sentinels, he was more than happy to get creative with his description of what his character was doing, because it justified him using the die that he wanted to use in a given situation. So the character creation in Sentinels is the thing that drives that. In particular, each time that you have a selection, you're going to roll a certain number of dice, usually 3, but for the first choice backgrounds you roll 2, and you can use any 2 dice together or any 1 die to select one of the different options available. So if I rolled 2d10 and I rolled a 5 and a 3, I could choose 5 plus 3, which would be 8, or I could choose 5, or I could choose 3. So I could be struggling, or I could be unremarkable, or I could be tragic for my background. And you do that with each of the steps. And then each of the steps allows you to select some powers, some abilities, and distribute some dice to your qualities, which you can think of those as like skills. And when you get done, you will have a very interesting and very rich character that you can play at the table. So that was another short video. That was Sentinel Comics RPG. Hopefully you got some inspiration from that video as to whether this might be the right type of game for you. I do find Sentinel Comics RPG to be extremely satisfying as a GM. I also thought my players really enjoyed it. We ran 2 or 3 sessions of it, and they typically don't like changing game systems a lot, so that says a lot. It's definitely something that I'm considering doing some solo playthroughs for at some point, and if I do, I'll go into a little bit more depth about how the rules work. So that's 2 videos. If you didn't see my other one, I did a video on the Marvel Multiverse RPG. You should check it out. And until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.